Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cinema Heroes. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm Jay Stu.
Today we are talking about Jurassic World Dominion. Released in 2022, directed by Colin Trevorrow, written by Emily Carmichael and Colin Trevorrow from a story by Derek Connolly and Colin Trevorrow, and of course based on characters created by Michael Crichton. This stars Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, Sam Neill, DeWanda Wise, B.D. Wong, Omar Sy, Campbell Scott, and one of my favorite actors in the movie. I have no idea how to pronounce his name. Mamoudou Athie. I don't know. He played Ramsey. I thought he was really good. So anyway, this is the sixth and final as of this recording installment of the Jurassic Park franchise. I'm sure they'll make more eventually at some point, reboot or something. But I did not get to see this in the theater. This was the only Jurassic Park movie that I did not get to see in the theater, such as the life of a new parent. So I had heard some things, and Stu kind of you kind of hinted at the fact that you weren't really looking forward to talking about this movie, which gave me the impression that it was not so great. And I took a lot of notes, so I'm just curious to hear what your initial thoughts were when you walked out of the theater, because you saw this in the theater, right?
Yes, I saw it in the theater. I saw it twice in the theater.
You liked it that much?
Yeah. Cinema at its finest.
Yes.
No, but indeed, I got a double dose of disappointment. This is easily the most frustrating movie out of the franchise, especially for a Jurassic Park fan. My mom, I took my mom to see this after I had saw it initially with my wife. My mom is a huge Jurassic Park fan.
Yeah.
She's probably the biggest Jurassic Park fan that I know. She loves every movie with all of her heart. We went to go see this movie, and I was pretty excited to take her to see this movie because, like I said, she's a very big fan. I figured she was gonna like it. She loves Fallen Kingdom, and I hate Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah.
I took her to see Dominion in the middle of the day. We walked out, and I was like, "What do you think?" She was like, "It was all right." My heart broke in that instant. I was so sad for my mother. She, like I said, she loves this franchise, and to hear her say it was all right, you know that this movie was not good.
Yes, I did. Like I said, I did not get to see it in the theater, so I watched the extended version Wednesday afternoon. And
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and my initial thought when it was over was, I think this is the worst of the franchise. And I looked it up on Rotten Tomatoes. It does have the lowest Rotten Tomatoes score. It's like a 29% or something like that. And I think Fallen Kingdom was like in the maybe like 49 or 51. It's very close to Jurassic Park 3. Jurassic Park 3 and Fallen Kingdom have very similar scores. The way the critics do it is Jurassic Park is the best. It's got like a 90 something. Jurassic World is in the 70s. I want to say Lost World is in the 50s. And then maybe Jurassic Park 3 and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom are both in the 40s, maybe. I can't remember exactly. And then this one was 29. So I was like, okay, well, the critics agree that this is the worst of the franchise. And I rewatched the theatrical version yesterday, finished it today. And I'm very conflicted because there are parts that I like, and there's some stuff that I appreciate. But overall, it doesn't really feel like a Jurassic. I mean, there's dinosaurs in the movie, but it just doesn't really feel like a Jurassic Park movie.
Well, the thing is, they made a dinosaur movies where the dinosaurs aren't even the threat.
Right, exactly.
So they set it up in Fallen Kingdom that dinosaurs would just be free roaming
out in the wild,
throughout the earth in the wild. And when this movie starts, everyone is just living their regular lives as if these dinosaurs are not here. I mean, they do show up in random places and they acknowledge that the dinosaurs are there, obviously.
Right.
But the montage at the beginning of the movie with the news documentary, whatever it was, people are getting married outside, knowing that there are dinosaurs roaming the earth. And these dinosaurs have been out in the wild for 3 years.
Right.
I don't think anybody would be getting married outside where they know there are dinosaurs. People are going to work just on their regular commute down 85. just you know, just a stegosaurus is just chilling in the median.
Right.
Like that would not happen.
Right.
Like if dinosaurs were in the real world as we know it, it would be complete chaos.
Yeah.
And the dinosaurs in this movie are just happenstance.
Right.
They just happen to be there.
And I think that's why
I hate it.
Yeah. I think that's why I feel like it's not a Jurassic Park movie. It's like some other movie franchise decided to just have dinosaurs in there. It's like it is a completely different movie set in a world where just dinosaurs exist, I guess. That's kind of what, that's what it feels like. I did read in IMDb trivia, like there's a quote from Colin Trevorrow that said he wasn't interested in making the movie that basically you expected, which is dinosaurs are creating havoc in the world and we've got to solve that problem. He was like, in his brain, I guess, he thought the dinosaurs would basically kind of go off into the wild and people would encounter them occasionally like we do with like bears, but they wouldn't be like, I mean, and occasionally bears do come into the, like, you know, people's, you know, backyards and stuff, but it wouldn't be like the scene from The Lost World where the T-Rex is just going down the street in San Diego eating people. He said he just wasn't interested in that. But I feel like that's what Fallen Kingdom kind of set up. I mean, the T-Rex is exactly like screaming with the city background or the city skyline in the background. So it is weird. And I don't know. It's the opening of the Ultimate Edition. At first you see all these dinosaurs in the wild and at first you're like, is this present day or is this the past? And then you find out it is the past. And it was just a setup for the Giganotosaurus. It shows the Giganotosaurus and the T-Rex getting into a fight. The T-Rex loses. A mosquito lands on the T-Rex and flies off. And then it says 65 million years later. And it's the scene at the drive-in, which I don't know if did you ever watch the prologue that was on YouTube?
No.
Well, so before the movie got released, they released a prologue. And it's that scene I just described, and it's the drive-in. So it shows people at a drive-in movie theater enjoying the movie, and then all of a sudden the T-Rex shows up and causes havoc. And there is a helicopter of guys from the Department of Fish and Wildlife trying to catch him or catch her, I guess. But I didn't like the 65 million years in the past opening. I liked the drive-in opening. And then when I watched the theatrical cut, they got rid of both. And I don't understand why Universal released it as a prologue and then didn't include it in the movie. But I actually liked the theatrical version. I mean, I wish they had opened with the drive-in. I wish it had been the Universal logo, the Amblin logo, and then you see a bunch of people coming into the movie, you know, coming into a drive-in, getting ready for a movie, buying popcorn, things like that. And then, like, in the distance, you hear like a, you know, or something, and people are like, what is that? And then the T-Rex shows up, causes havoc. Then you see the helicopter and them trying to catch her. I think that would have been a cool opening to the movie. The way the theatrical version opens, I prefer it to the Ultimate Edition just because I like, you know, you see the I don't remember what there is, like a crab fishing boat or lobster. I don't know what they're fishing for, but one of those boats that Clark Kent worked on in Man of Steel. And
greenhorn.
Right, exactly.
That's real binoculars.
And then that big, you know, aquatic dinosaur from Jurassic World shows up. I like that opening. And then it goes right into to the news, which I think was cool. But you're right. It's just The last note I wrote is, so the movie ends with no resolution to the original problem of dinosaurs in the wild. We're just told they have to coexist. And so I was like, that's weird. It's like you said before, the problem they set up in Fallen Kingdom, they basically just ignore it. They're just like, yep, dinosaurs are in the wild now. And so then they had to come up with some other storyline, and it's this thing about the locusts. And so on one hand, I really like that Lewis Dodson is the bad guy. I thought it was cool that they brought him back. But on the other hand, it's just...
Okay, who is that?
So in the very first Jurassic Park, he's the guy that meets Dennis Nedry at the little cafe outside or whatever and gives him the Barbasol can.
It's a different actor.
It is a different actor. And I looked, and I was bummed about that at first because I was like, why didn't they get the original actor? I looked him up on IMDb. He hasn't done anything since 2013. And so I was like, oh, maybe he retired. And I was like, I could have sworn I remember reading something about him going to jail. So I Wikipedia'd him, and he did go to prison for, I forget exactly what the charge was, but it had to do with, it was a sexual offense with a minor.
Oh,
so he's not going to be working anymore. I don't think. I don't think they even though it would have been great to see the original actor come back, nobody's hiring him now. So he was released from prison in 2019, but I think his career is over.
Yeah, because I remember them saying the name Dodson, but I was like, that's not Dodson.
right. Yeah, different actor.
I was like, that's Richard Parker from Amazing Spider-Man.
Exactly. And he's playing the kid. I mean, he looks, and he's basically exactly Richard Parker from Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, they're only the same in name. Like, he's playing a completely different character than the guy in Jurassic Park.
Right. Yeah, and so I like, Dodson, I don't think was, and Biosyn is never mentioned in the movie, but apparently, and I have not read the novel in a while, but apparently Biosyn was mentioned in the original Jurassic Park novel. And Dodson worked for Biosyn. And so now he's the CEO of Biosyn. And so I thought that was kind of cool. It was a nice tie into the first movie. And I think Campbell Scott does a good job as Dodson. I don't really like... See, I'm torn. I'm torn on a bunch of aspects of this movie because I feel like I'm doing all the talking here. I'll let you chime in here in a second.
No, please continue.
But on one hand, I like that it's a different thing that brings in Ellie, Alan, and Ian Malcolm. It's not just we have to go back to an island with dinosaurs, because I feel like before we started recording, I decided to re-listen to our episode on Jurassic Park 3 that John and I did. Mm-hmm. Because I was going back and forth. I was like, do I like Jurassic Park 3 more than this movie and more than Fallen Kingdom? So I wanted to re-listen to the episode to hear what I was thinking and what I gave the grade and everything. And I actually don't remember what grade I gave it, but I hated Jurassic Park 3, and I mentioned all the things that I didn't like about it, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. That is pretty bad. But even after listening to the episode, I still don't know if I like this movie less. But we made a joke in that episode about Alan Grant going back. We knew he was going to be in Jurassic World Dominion. I think this was before any previews came out or anything. It was just the casting had been announced. Mm-hmm. And we were making a joke that it was going to be, nothing will get me to go back to an island with dinosaurs. And somebody was going to write him a check, because that's how he got in 1 and 3. That's how he got talked into going. So I like that it wasn't just more of the same. It was a different problem that got them to Biosyn. It had all, I like the relationship aspect. It was nice to see, that Alan had kind of been pining over Ellie, and to see that relationship kind of rekindled was nice.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I just don't, the locust thing is just, number one, it's absurd to me that
it's stupid.
Yeah. And it's also stupid that none of these locusts are eating the crops that use Biosyn seed, and still everybody's going, well, where did these locusts come from? Well, clearly they came from Biosyn. They're not eating the Biosyn.
No, Ellie knew immediately.
She did, but
yeah.
But there's a scene with Dodson where he gets a news notification on his phone, and he looks at it, and it says the locusts have shown up in another continent, and he scrolls, and one of the headlines is, where did they come from? So it's the media the general public has no idea where these locusts came from. They think it's just a crazy act of God. But at the same time, none of these locusts are eating biosyn feed or seed, crops made with biosyn seed. So you'd think somebody other than Ellie would have put two and two together. Like it just didn't make sense to me. It's just
I mean, even the farmer that she went to go visit figured that out.
Right. Exactly. And yet the rest of the world can't do it. So, and then of course we see Wu again, and he's behind it, but he's at least got a conscience this time because he's like, we need to kill the locusts. We have to, and I don't even understand his plan. There was something where he was going to like bioengineer something from Maisie so that he could fix, put a locust out there that will somehow fix all the other locusts. Like that didn't make any sense to me either.
Yeah.
It's like they call it in Star Trek, they call it technobabble, we're tech in the tech. And I feel like that's what it was.
Tech in the tech.
So.
Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah.
But I agree. It's very, very convoluted. They made a Jurassic Park movie or Jurassic World movie where dinosaurs aren't even the main threat.
No.
It's bugs.
Right. Yeah, it's bugs.
And
it's bugs and poachers.
That is a completely different movie.
Right.
They put another movie inside a Jurassic Park movie.
They did,
and tried to sell it as a Jurassic Park movie, and it doesn't work at all. The two storylines, they try to marry them with Maisie.
Yeah,
and it doesn't work because Owen and Claire are looking for Maisie,
right?
Because some poachers took her, and then
to take her to biosyn.
And then Alan and Ellie are trying to figure out the biosyn conspiracy, and they just happen to meet up, which right. I mean, I guess makes sense, but it feels very lazy that Dr. Grant and Ellie and Owen and Claire would just happen to meet up. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It just. I feel like
too coincidental.
Yeah, it's too coincidental. I feel like their connection, their meeting should have been more purposeful and deliberate rather than just happenstance.
I agree, and I also I still don't. And I've watched it twice now, and I still don't really quite understand why they need Maisie. I understand Henry Wu wants Maisie to fix the locust problem. I think, but why would? But but in the beginning, it's Dodson who is wanting her. Dodson is the one trying to locate the girl.
I think what he's trying to do is use her DNA to like cure human ailments and illnesses and stuff like that.
So just knowing she was out there, he was like, there's money to be had in her blood, basically. And so.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I can buy that. And then Wu says they needed to steal Beta, which is Blue's child. To better understand Maisie, which I didn't really get that either, but okay.
Well, you have Maisie. Right. Use Maisie to understand Maisie.
Exactly. But I did like that scene just happened where Wu was like, well, we needed to have her to better understand you. And I was like, what? Why? She's not part raptor. But anyway. Another problem I have with this movie, it's one of those things where I can kind of appreciate it, but I also think it's just convoluted. I think there's too many dinosaur species in this movie. One of my biggest issues is that woman that is Santos. She's the one that kidnapped. Well, actually, I don't think she kidnapped Maisie, but she's delivering.
She saw her get kidnapped.
That's Kayla you're thinking of. Santos is the Asian woman who's like the black market dino dealer. She's the one with like the laser pointer.
You're right.
Right?
Yeah. Which also should have been a movie in itself.
Right. Yes,
like exactly. that should have been Jurassic Park Dominion.
That they had
or even Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah.
Selling dinosaurs on the black market should be its own movie.
Right. Which is kind of how Fallen Kingdom ended with them bidding on those I mean, they set that all up, and then it's such a minor part of this movie, really.
Right.
But anyway, she asks Delacourt, who's the kind of the main poacher that followed Grady.
Mm-hmm.
She says, I need you to transport these dinosaurs. We'll give you $50,000. He's like, well, what kind of dinosaurs are they? And she calls them Atrociraptors, right? Which maybe is a real dinosaur. I don't know. I haven't looked it up.
No, it's not. It's not.
My thing is, they look and act just like velociraptors. Why not just say they're velociraptors?
Well, the thing is, they act like velociraptors, but their head kind of looks like
a little different.
It looks like a T-Rex a little bit. It's like a very narrow T-Rex head.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they gave them that name. Like Atrocirator, that name is an atrocity. If Fallen Kingdom was Preposterosaurus Rex,
yeah,
this would be Atrocisaurus Rex. This movie is just a complete mess of convolution, and I do agree there are too many species.
Yeah,
and going back to what I said about the dinosaurs not being the threat, I think that is why it feels like there are too many species, because you're not focusing on one of them being the main threat.
Right. And they kind of try to do that with the Giganotosaurus, but it's
throwaway.
Yeah, and again, it's the same issue I kind of had with Jurassic Park 3, where they introduced this dinosaur that we've never seen before, that's supposed to be the apex predator, who's supposed to be in the extended version, he kills the T-Rex in the beginning, so he's bigger and badder than the T-Rex.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know.
I felt like they did that better in Jurassic Park 3 than they did in this movie, because the Spinosaurus actually felt like a threat,
right?
At least to me.
Well, and I think part of that is there's not enough Giganotosaurus probably in this movie, because
no, it's not.
With the Spinosaurus, it was kind of like the shark in Jaws, where every now and again our heroes would get to a certain spot, and then the Spinosaurus would show up and cause problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was the Spinosaurus was showing up throughout the film, kind of almost stalking them. Whereas in this, it's like they say something about the Giganotosaurus, and then it shows up, and they have one little scene where they're trying to get away from him.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, he shows up again, trying to keep him from taking off. But it's not, like you said, the dinosaurs are just not the threat in this. And even at the end, which again is I kind of like, but at the same time, it just doesn't. Just to kind of amplify your point, I guess, the Giganotosaurus shows up, the T-Rex shows up, and they are like snarling at each other. And Grant says, "This is not about us," and they start to run, and then they get into a fight. Again, the dinosaurs really are not the threat. They're fighting each other. They're not even going after the humans. It's like,
right.
He's like, this is a different movie.
yeah, exactly. In that third act, they pretty much just watching the fight.
Right. Yeah.
It's like you can have your own movie away from this fight.
Yeah. Jurassic World did it so much better with the Indominus Rex and the T-Rex fight at the end, because the Indominus Rex was the threat and was going after the people.
He was actively chasing the people.
Right. And Claire let out the T-Rex to fight the Indominus Rex.
Yes.
That worked so much better, in my opinion. I appreciate that scene so much more now after watching this movie. Yeah. So
because your main characters are moving the plot forward.
Right.
That is the whole point of story. Your characters have to move the plot forward. It's not interesting when it's just happenstance.
Right. When they're just reacting to dinosaurs show. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. So I I appreciate that at least in this movie, they didn't, well, I guess unless the Atrociraptors were bioengineered, but the Giganotosaurus, I thought, without having seen the movie, I thought was a fake dinosaur, because that's just what Jurassic World did. They did the Indominus Rex, then they did the Indoraptor, and I'm just basing this off of seeing the toys at like Target. I didn't realize it was pronounced Giganotosaurus. I thought it was like Gigantosaurus or something, which I thought was a terrible name. And I assumed it was a hybrid dinosaur. And then I found out it's actually a real dinosaur that I guess I looked it up. They discovered the first bones of the Giganotosaurus they discovered was like in 2001 or something like that. So I'm actually kind of surprised it took this long to show up in a Jurassic Park movie. But
right. That was when Jurassic Park 3 came out.
Yeah. So I'm surprised it wasn't in. I'm actually kind of surprised they decided to do Indominus Rex rather than Giganotosaurus in Jurassic World. I don't know. The Giganotosaurus is fine, but the T-Rex is all. And so I do I didn't like the fake out at the end with the T-Rex. You think the T-Rex is dead, and then all of a sudden his eye moves and he
opens his eye. Yeah.
He's just sleeping, I guess, for a second. I don't know. I do like at least that the T-Rex wins that fight because the T-Rex, in my opinion,
with the help of the giant
chicken.
Yeah. I was gonna say ostrich, but okay.
Yeah, ostrich works too. It looks like a giant chicken with huge claws to me. I don't know. Yeah, so there's a lot of issues with the film. It was fun seeing Alan Grant and Ellie and Ian Malcolm back in the movie. I just wish they had been put into a better movie.
Yeah.
And again, I also, like I said, it's like I can appreciate the fact that they are not there for dinosaurs. And so, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. The whole sanctuary thing at Biosyn, I know I've got like 1,000 thoughts and I can't focus on one of them. The whole sanctuary thing at Biosyn doesn't make sense. I mean, I guess it kind of does, but they tried to do that, or at least they said they were trying to do that in Fallen Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
But why have the sanctuary right next to, why not have the sanctuary on some other separate island? I guess it's so they can study the animals, but it's just, I don't know. It was just, obviously they needed the dinosaurs to be there and be a threat.
Mm-hmm.
But it's at the same time, it's like, if I was Alan Grant, because I, would probably be having trauma from Jurassic Park 1 and Jurassic Park 3. And Ellie came to me and he's like, Ellie, I'll do whatever you want. She's like, we need to go to Biosyn. He's like, where they have the dinosaurs? No, thanks.
Nope. and that's another thing. So Jurassic World, the first Jurassic World, was supposed to be a direct sequel to Jurassic Park.
Right. Yes, I'm glad you brought this up.
Yet, this movie clearly acknowledges Jurassic Park 3.
Yep. And The Lost World. Because...
Oh, yeah, and The Lost World, because of the second island.
Yes. He says that Charlotte, who is Maisie's mother, worked on Site B with some of the other scientists. Yep. I wrote that down.
Which was Isla Sorna, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
I am glad you brought that up because I remember I wrote that. I said, Wu tells Maisie that Charlotte worked with the other scientists on Site B, which is Isla Sorna, meaning The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3 are canon again? ? So, yeah, I don't it's they're trying to be like the X-Men franchise.
Man, you took the word right out of my mouth. That is exactly what this movie is. It is just it's an X-Men movie with dinosaurs and bugs.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, so I mean, going back to the story, I guess, Owen and Claire's whole dramatic need is to get Maisie back and to get Beta back. Which, by the way, that's one of my favorite lines in the movie. It actually did make me laugh out loud. Is when it's towards the end of the movie. Maisie and Owen are like, "This is where Beta is," and Ian Malcolm goes, "Oh, you gave the baby dinosaur a name. How about that?" And then Owen goes, "I made a promise to get her back," and he goes, "You made a promise to a dinosaur."
It only works because it's Ian Malcolm.
Right. Ian Malcolm has some of the best lines in the movie, and it just works because it's Ian Malcolm. But that one was my favorite. He's like, "You made a promise to a dinosaur."
And that's another thing. I'm not buying their family dynamic at all.
Claire, Owen, and Maisie.
I don't feel it. I could kind of get Owen and Maisie, but Claire and Maisie, absolutely not.
Right. I guess I was okay with it. It didn't. Maisie and Claire didn't get along in the beginning of the movie. They were fighting a little bit. So that kind of worked for me, but
Claire just doesn't seem maternal to me.
Well, especially how she's portrayed in Jurassic World.
Yeah. And I get it. They're trying to develop her character. Right. I get that. It's just that it doesn't
should have
work.
been more struggle perhaps on her part or something.
Yeah,
I could see that. Another note I wrote, speaking of Claire, is Claire ejecting seems like a bad idea with all the flying dinosaurs around. I said, I guess it's either that or crashing in the plane.
Yeah.
But then I wrote, why does that plane even have an ejection seat, and why is it behind the pilot seat? That doesn't make any sense to me either.
Huh.
Maybe those types of planes have an ejection seat. I don't know. But when it was like hers is the ejection seat, I was like, why is it that seat? Why wouldn't it be the pilot seat? Anyway, that's just another, I think they had to get Claire off the plane. Mm-hmm. And so that was the way they did it. I mean, you could have just strapped her into a parachute and pushed her out.
Right.
That would have, I honestly would have bought that more.
Yeah.
Be like, I only have one parachute. All right, Claire, you take it.
Okay.
No, I can't leave. And he just kicks her out of the door, But as soon as she
Make sure you pull the lever.
I should have told you that first. As soon as she gets out of the plane, of course, she's like those flying dinosaurs. I don't know. They're not pterodactyls. Kayla says what they are, and it's again, it's another species I've never heard of. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Everybody in this movie
is a dinosaur expert.
Yes.
I'm like, how do you know the names of these dinosaurs? Right. She was like, it's from the Cretaceous, and it should have stayed there. Yeah. I'm like, what?
That they shouldn't have given her that line. Claire, I could find Claire being somewhat of an expert because she worked at Jurassic World and she was in charge of attractions or whatever. So like you could say maybe she knew her dinosaurs. But they should have given that line to Claire rather than Kayla. That bugged me the way she said that. She was like, whatever that Asaurus is, should from the Cretaceous, and it should have stayed there. That line bugged me.
Yeah, I did not like her character.
Kayla, really? You didn't like her?
Yeah, I didn't like her character. I think it may have been the actress, the way she was portraying her. I could tell she was acting.
Oh, interesting.
And it felt like she was trying too hard to be the tough girl.
Be the bad. Yeah, I could see. Yeah. I didn't feel that way. I didn't really have a problem with her. I actually kind of enjoyed watching her, but that's interesting. I've never seen her in anything else. Have you ever seen her in anything else?
No, I have not.
Okay. Because I could see how, like, if she played a completely different type of character in another show or something, and then she was in this trying to be the tough guy, I could see how you could find it unbelievable or something, but I don't know. Now I'm going to have to pay a little more attention while she's on screen, see if I feel that way. How did you feel about this scene? So I've got the movie playing right now. How did you feel about Claire gets out of the ejection seat and she's like slowly getting away from the chicken dinosaur? And she gets into the water and then goes on. How did you feel about that whole scene?
I liked it.
Yeah. It's suspenseful.
I thought it was suspenseful, and it was different because that dinosaur is blind.
Right.
Yeah, so I thought that was a decent scene.
I think I like the way it was shot, how the camera stays in front of Claire as she's climbing into the water. I like that a lot. I just don't buy it because that deer was just drinking water. By the way, I love that dinosaur just comes up and just smacks that deer like just like, this is my watering hole. But she's like, you can just tell. I mean, the audio Foley work they did made it seem like she was being very quiet, but the way the water's moving and everything, that dinosaur would have known she was there,
Absolutely.
And I think it did because it screams at her, but it gives up, I guess. I don't know. It was, I found it not quite as unbelievable as Owen crawling away from lava, but I found it kind of unbelievable.
Yeah. I guess I just suspended my disbelief in that.
That
particular scene.
Are there any scenes in the movie that you actually enjoyed, that you like?
Briefly, yes. That scene I enjoyed.
Yeah.
The Atrociraptor chase. What city were they in?
Malta, I believe.
Malta. So I liked the scene, but there was a part of the scene where Claire was running on the rooftop, running on the rooftops, was poorly edited.
Mm.
So she's running. Well, first, when she confronts Santos, there are a series of dizzying whip pans.
Yeah.
Like, it's just whip pan after whip pan. The camera's just, it's like they got it on a swivel and they just keep going back and forth. It's visually disruptive.
Uh-huh.
And then after that, when she's being chased by the Atrociraptor on the rooftops, she jumps from a building which has I guess for lack of a better word, we'll say steeple. I know it's not a steeple.
Yeah,
but it kind of comes to a point, and when she lands, all of a sudden a door appears. She's on a flat rooftop,
right?
And all of a sudden a door appears. She is clearly on a completely different rooftop than the one that she jumped to in the previous frame.
I wonder if that scene was longer and they cut it down for time and thought no one would notice that, but
I noticed.
But you noticed. I don't know. I have no answer for that. That's interesting. I didn't notice it, but I might have. Who knows? I might have been looking away at that moment. But I was going to say, one of the scenes that I actually did enjoy was the motorcycle chase.
Yes.
And I like it all the way up to him getting onto the plane and then the motorcycle knocking the Atrociraptor off the back of the plane. I actually thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
I did think some of that fight scene with Claire and Santos reminded me of like the Bourne Ultimatum, even to the point where Claire jumps from one rooftop through a window and the camera kind of follows it and the raptor follows her. And I was like, they just took that straight from a Bourne movie. Absolutely.
That did. They definitely took that from the Bourne franchise.
I also love and this is kind of sarcastic. I like the line where Claire hits Santos with that electric wand thing. Taser thing.
Yeah.
And Santos had just been trying to slice Claire with a kitchen knife.
Mm-hmm.
And Claire just gets her with the taser and she like flies across
the room.
But then Santos goes, "You don't use that on people." And I was like, "Oh, but a kitchen knife? You can use that on
people?" I said the same thing. I was like, you were trying to kill her. Right. She's using whatever she can.
She's like, "You don't use that on people." I was like, okay. But then I don't know how I feel about the whole laser pointer marks the prey for the raptors and they chase him down. Like they are basically... And until you're dead, they are after you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's something, again, that feels like a plot line from another movie where that's kind of a big deal. Mm-hmm. And it's a throwaway thing in here.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite as big of a deal as like when we were talking about Revenge of the Fallen, where the Transformers can pose as humans now. Mm-hmm. But it seems like kind of a big deal that they've done something to these dinosaurs where they've turned them into a weapon. They've weaponized them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I like it.
I don't really care for it either. I agree that it's a throwaway idea device that definitely should have been expanded upon. It's just a plot convenience. It's just so the Atrociraptors can chase who they're supposed to chase, and not just be chasing
everybody.
People.
Exactly.
Right.
And you know, and she, right as she's being arrested, she uses the pointer on Owen, which is why the whole motorcycle chase kind of happens. The raptors are going after Owen because she marked him.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think. I mean, I feel like it would have been. Obviously, they would have gone after everybody, not just the people they needed to go after. But I think you could have had Owen escape on a motorcycle and the Atrociraptors have followed him and it would have been believable. But anyway, but that was one of the best scenes in the movie, was the motorcycle chase into the back of the plane.
Another scene that I liked was the scene with Dr. Grant, Ellie, and Maisie in the cave with those.
Oh yeah.
I know they're not Spinosaurs, there's something else. But that's always been one of my favorite dinosaurs.
Oh, nice.
From like when I was a kid. I never knew the name of it. But
I could tell you, but
I thought it was interesting because it looked like those dinosaurs were practical.
That was another note I had, and another appreciation I have for this film is that they used more practical dinosaurs in this movie than they have in the previous 2 Jurassic World movies. And I like that. And I think it works really well in certain scenes. Like I know the Giganotosaurus, at least the head, there's a couple times where that was practical. There was a couple times where the Dilophosaurus looks practical. And like you said, in this one, which I was going to look up, I'm trying to find, I have the soundtrack, and he names the dinosaur there.
If they weren't practical, that was some really good CGI.
Yeah. A Dimetrodon, I think. Does that sound right?
Dimetrodon. Okay. I don't
know. Anyway, but yeah, even though I think there are too many dinosaur species, I do like that. I do have an issue with the whole tube travel thing, because at one point, Ellie and Sattler's tube stops because Dodgson forces it to. And Malcolm says, "Are there dinosaurs in that?" No, he says, "Are there dinosaurs in the caves?" Because they stopped at the amber mines. Why you can even get out there, I don't know. But anyway, he goes, they stopped in the amber mines. And he goes, "Are there dinosaurs in their mines?" And the guy goes, "There's dinosaurs everywhere." And I'm like, okay, I understand it's a sanctuary, but why are you just letting dinosaurs get to where people can go?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense to me. And then, as much as I like the inclusion of the Dilophosaurus in this movie, because it's the first time we've seen it in reality, because I think there's a hologram of one in one of the Jurassic World movies.
I think Jurassic World.
Yeah.
There's a hologram. Yeah.
It's the first time we've seen it in real life, quote unquote, since the first movie. But I have such an issue, and I like that Dodgson dies the same way Nedry does, by being eaten by a Dilophosaurus. But I have such a problem with those Dilophosaurus showing up in that tunnel, because I mean, that thing is, we saw a shot of the tunnel, and there's like, I'm sure there's an access door or something, but it is like an enclosed tunnel. There's no space for anything else. All that fits through there is the car or whatever, the tube, whatever you want to call it. So those Dilophosaurus, if Dodson's car had not broken down because they rerouted the power, those Dilophosaurus would have just been smushed. Why are they there? Like, it didn't make any sense to me. Why make it so that dinosaurs can get into that tunnel if you're just going to be killing dinosaurs all the time every time someone travels somewhere?
Yeah.
So that bugs me a little bit. But I do like
they were there because they needed to be there to kill Dodson.
Right, exactly. Which just, again, you could have had Dodson break down somewhere. And I understand it does say that the tunnels take you to the airfield. So obviously there is a exit point of the tunnel that goes outside. So I guess dinosaurs could get in. But if we have this air deterrent system that keeps pterodactyls from flying above a certain height, surely we could have something that keeps dinosaurs from going into these tunnels and just being slaughtered.
Right.
What kind of sanctuary is it if dinosaurs can just go in and be destroyed which they don't even move that fast? It showed Alan and Ellie and Maisie going to the airfield, and on the computer screen it said they were traveling at 30 miles per hour. I was like, can we go a little faster in these tubes? Come on. I feel like I have more negative to say about this movie than I do positive.
Absolutely, as do I.
Yeah.
I mean, we pretty much talked about all the negative stuff that I had to say. We pretty much talk about all the positive stuff that I had to say. It's incredibly frustrating as a Jurassic Park fan.
Yes.
That this was the movie to end the franchise, or at least go, even if it's not ending, they did confirm that they're going on an extended break from making these movies.
Right.
And to have this be the thing that you leave us with is quite disrespectful, in my opinion.
I agree. I think, as much as I don't like Jurassic Park 3, I think this franchise would be better if it just was Jurassic Park, Lost World, Jurassic Park 3, Jurassic World, done. Just end it with Jurassic World. And because Fallen Kingdom and Dominion just don't leave a good taste in the mouth.
No. Like, I was watching this movie and I was like, man, Jurassic Park 3 really wasn't that bad.
Well, that's how I felt. And I was like, I almost feel like I need to watch. I'm not going to subject myself to this, but I almost feel like I need to watch Jurassic Park 3, Fallen Kingdom, and then this movie kind of all back to back to back to see which one I really dislike the most. Because, like I said, I re-listened to our Jurassic Park 3 episode, and I really didn't like that movie. But
for me, the thing about Jurassic Park 3 is that it's lazy. It's not necessarily a terrible movie. It's just very. They didn't try very hard with that movie.
Right, I agree. And there's also some like logical stuff that just doesn't. You're just like, that doesn't make sense. Like that wouldn't be that way and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But one of the things I can appreciate about Jurassic Park 3 is that it feels like a Jurassic Park movie. The dinosaurs are the threat. And I think that's this movie's biggest problem is it doesn't really feel like a Jurassic Park movie. It's the bugs are the threat. That's the big storyline. That's what Ramsey we find out is a good guy, not really working for Biosyn. He's the one that told Ian Malcolm about hexagon plot, whatever it was, about the locusts. And Malcolm tells Ellie about it essentially, and Ellie brings Alan. So it's all about the locusts, and the dinosaurs just happen to be there. It's just I feel like I don't know what else I can really say about that. I have a couple of notes. They're just little nitpicky things. So there's a scene where Ellie, Alan, and Maisie get to like the end of a tunnel or something, and it's locked. And Malcolm shows up on the other side, but there's a code. And Malcolm's like, I didn't know there was going to be a code. Nobody told me there was going to be a code. And so I can't remember what the first code he tries, but it's something. It's like a year or something, like
1984.
1984. Yeah, and he says what it was, the year of blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, Miles Davis's birthday. Well, then he tries a third code. And that's right when Ramsey ends up unlocking it remotely. And he goes, wow, I can't believe that worked. And again, this is just a nitpicky thing. I want to know what the code. I totally expected it to be a joke or something.
I looked it up and I got two different answers.
Okay.
The first code was, I want to say 7337.
Okay.
Which is a code that J.A. Bayona uses in other movies.
Okay. All right.
And the second code, I can't remember what it was, but it was something completely different. So it's one of those two codes.
Right.
But because the only one I can remember is 7337, that's the one I'm going to go with.
Okay. I didn't expect it to be like a mind-blowing joke or something. I just thought it'd be like, I did my birthday and it worked, or something. It's just they don't tell us what it is at all, and that kind of was weird to me. And then the other nitpicky note I wrote, which I think is my last note out of all these. Oh no, I have one more. Is Owen should have and would have recognized Alan, Ellie, and Ian, which he does. He does point out later that he knows who he is. He read his book. He's a big fan. But it's like when they first,
which makes sense,
right? It does, and I like that Alan knew who Owen was too. But when they first meet, they're standing across from each other, and Owen is just like, "You okay?" And I just thought he was going to be like, "For Alan Grant," or something,
right? Yeah,
right in that
I did
moment,
too.
And he doesn't. And so I feel like they should have just, I don't know, just little things like that kind of irk me.
No, I agree. I think they definitely should have expanded on the fact that Owen is a fan of Dr. Grant.
Yeah, and like I said, it's in the movie. It's just I feel like it comes too late. It's like it's almost like they realized they didn't have it and they needed to have it, so they put it in a later scene. It was weird to me, but I do like. I actually do appreciate how, like I said, Alan knows that Owen has trained raptors. So then when they find Beta, and Maisie does the whole, "Hey, eyes on me," which I thought was...
I hate that scene. I forgot about that. I hate that scene. When she says eyes on me, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna listen to you.
Yeah, I don't love it either, but I do like that Alan finds it fascinating.
Triangulating.
And tries kind of tries to do it too. He steps behind her and like puts his hand out. I like that because I felt like that was very true to Alan's character. Even though I think he has seen what velociraptors can do and would still be fairly terrified of them. I think he finds the idea of training raptors intriguing / fascinating. And so I like that whole scene with him kind of being like, this is incredible, kind of,
Yeah. I honestly think that the movie would have benefited from Owen and Grant being together for most of the movie.
Yeah, I agree, actually. It's weird because they have a lot to do in the movie. They're trying to find Maisie, and there's the motorcycle chase, and there's all this stuff, but it almost feels like Owen and Claire don't really have a whole lot to do in this movie.
No.
So you're
especially right. Claire.
Yeah, especially Claire. How did you feel about Owen grabbing the Dilophosaurus by the throat
to keep it? The Dilophosaurus by the throat?
Yeah, it just happened. So Claire, I don't remember where Claire. I think they still have maybe not found Claire or something. She's still trying to hide. I think, yeah. This is the scene that just happened. And a Dilophosaurus gets right in her face, and she's frozen with fear. It does the neck thing, and goes, and she screams, and then Owen's arms come out from off screen and grab it by the throat, and you see like the black spit kind of like ooze out of its mouth, and he like just, I don't know, and then Kayla comes and zaps it with the taser, and it gets knocked out. But I was like, I wrote down, wait, I actually wrote the word wait. Owen stopped it from spitting by grabbing its throat. I guess. Like I just, I mean, I guess if he squeezed it hard enough, but I don't know. Yeah,
I don't even remember watching that.
I liked that it was the Dilophosaurus. I was like, the return of the Dilophosaurus, but then I don't know. There's maybe that would work. I don't know. I like that at least we see it again, and he spits on Dodson, and I also like that Dodson doesn't know what the Dilophosaurus is, which I think is kind of an interesting character trait, that he's like the CEO of this company. He's like, we can learn from these dinosaurs, but then doesn't, because when the Dilophosaurus shows up, he goes, right before it spits on him, he goes, what's your deal? Or something like that. And then or what's your story? I forget what he said.
Everybody in this movie is a dino expert except the person running the dino company.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Never mind. That's kind of stupid. All right, I'm curious to see if you like or dislike this moment. And this is my last note of the film.
Okay.
The whole reason that the fountain exists in the, what do you call it? Like the courtyard of Biosyn is for that one shot of the T-Rex. Because, I mean, that fountain is the Jurassic Park logo.
Yes.
Which is another thing. I don't think Biosyn would have had a fountain. I think somebody would have pointed that out to Dodson. Been like, you don't see the resemblance here? This looks exactly like the Jurassic Park / Jurassic World logo, just without a dinosaur in the middle.
Yeah.
But anyway, the only reason that fountain exists is so that they can get that shot of the T-Rex coming up behind it and basically being the Jurassic Park logo for a frame. I'm torn on that because on one hand, I'm like, that's kind of cool. But on the other hand, I'm like, is it though?
It's cool. No, it looks cool. Like the composition of that the composition scene is cool. Leading up to it, it just feels very forced.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like it, but it's stupid at the same time.
Right. That's exactly how I feel. I like it, but it's stupid. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's about all I've got. That's basically the end of the movie. The Giganotosaurus shows up. The T-Rex shows up. The T-Rex and the chicken dinosaur kill the Giganotosaurus. Everybody flies away. We find out that like Alan and Ellie are together, and he's, even though he doesn't really like doing this, he's talking to like Congress for her basically about stuff. But then the movie ends with them being like, we just have to learn to live together with the dinosaurs. And I was like, okay.
So there was no, as far as the dinosaurs go, there's no resolution.
None.
It's just the movie ends the way it began.
Yes, exactly. Pretty much. It could have ended with the exact same news reel. I don't know what to rate this movie. I cannot. I'm going back and forth between ratings, and I honestly don't know. Because it's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but it is potentially the worst Jurassic Park movie I've ever seen.
It is not the worst movie I've ever seen, but it is definitely the worst Jurassic Park movie. I don't think that can be up for debate. Because when I first saw this, I was like, okay, this is this might be maybe in the middle of the road.
That's-
And then I saw it the second time. I was like, no, this movie's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And then watching it this third time just confirmed my second viewing. So
Which crazy because you and I really didn't like the second half of Fallen Kingdom last time we talked about that. Like the whole Indoraptor thing, all of that, Maisie finding out Maisie's a clone, all of that stuff. We hated it. But at least the first half of Fallen Kingdom feels like a Jurassic Park movie. So at least it has that. So yeah, I think this one is worse than Fallen Kingdom, which really upsets me because it's got Alan, Ellie, and Ian in it, Yeah. It's like they there's a moment where I thought Ian was gonna die, which is when the Giganotosaurus was there.
Yeah, when he had doing the torch.
Yeah, he's basically doing the flare thing again from Jurassic Park.
Yeah, the call back to the first one, yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, if they kill off Ian Malcolm, I'm gonna be so mad. So I'm glad they didn't do that.
I thought Ian was gonna die too. Yeah. I was like, man, first of all, he's underutilized in the movie,
right?
And then you're gonna kill him.
Yeah,
that would be the biggest crime of any Jurassic Park movie.
Agreed. I did write one of my notes because again, I was just writing notes as I was watching the movie for the first time, and one of my notes was I was like, I don't think Ian Malcolm would work for a company like Biosyn, but then I found out he's there just to try to basically figure out what's going on with, which I don't know why he started working there unless Ramsey told him about the whole Locust program before he got hired. I don't know, but
that's what I was thinking. Yeah. But the way he's talking about Biosyn it seems like he started working there before he knew about the corruption, which kind of makes me think that somehow Ramsey had to get him in there, and then he told him about what was going on, like after he got hired.
Yeah. So it's really disappointing because I love the legacy characters a lot, and I like seeing them again in another movie. It's just I wish it had been a better movie.
Yep,
it's a shame. It really does. It is a shame that this was the last movie of the franchise. This is the movie we end on.
Yep.
Again, I don't hate everything about the movie. There's this moment that happens right here. I kind of like where Maisie almost gets eaten by the Giganotosaurus, and she's like frozen with fear. She's like, I'm gonna die. I actually kind of like, and the shot composition.
If you stay there,
you don't move.
Keep moving.
Yeah, I know. But I can understand being like frozen with fear, but I do like the shot of the jaws clamping and she's right in the middle of the frame. I think that was kind of cool. So there's some cool scenes / shots in the film, but overall it's a miss. It's a misfire.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like I said, I'm really conflicted between. I don't know whether to give this movie because I think we gave Fallen Kingdom 2 stars, and I don't know if I should give this 2 or 1.5 or 1. Like I really don't. I'm kind of leaning towards 1.5. And I got nothing. Baby velociraptors, 1.5 baby velociraptors. I don't know. There's part of we didn't mention this. You and I mentioned it before we started recording, but the movie's also too long.
Yeah, it is very long. I was about 1 hour and 45 minutes in. I was like, I am ready for this to end.
Wrap up. Yeah, and then there's the extended version, which is 2 hours and 40 minutes. Which that's got with I don't know what the theatrical version is like what the time stamp is when the credits start rolling. But in the
220, 225.
Okay, so they add about 10 minutes to the movie because it was at 2:30 in the extended cut when the credits started rolling.
Okay.
So it's 2.5 hours before the credits with the extended cut, and it feels like 2.5 hours. Like The Dark Knight doesn't feel like 2.5 hours.
No.
But this movie felt like 2.5 hours. So it's just it's kind of rife with problems, and yeah, as much as I dislike Jurassic Park 3, as much as I really dislike the Indoraptor and all that stuff in Fallen Kingdom, I have to at least admit that those movies kind of feel like Jurassic Park movies. And so, yeah, this one just doesn't. This one feels like, we said it 100 times already in this episode, but this feels like a separate movie kind of set in the Jurassic Park universe almost.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's a separate movie where they just have dinosaurs. It didn't. Yeah. I don't know. I can appreciate that we got something different, but it wasn't good. So unfortunately, I'm not a fan. I would give it, I'm gonna go with 1.5. Baby the Velociraptors. What about you?
I mean, I would pretty much be echoing
exactly what I just said.
Everything you just said. So, yeah, 1.5 forced Jurassic Park logos.
That's pretty good. Yeah. There's okay. Right before I wrap it up, there's another great Malcolm line where he's on the phone. It's right after the Giganotosaurus thing. It's also Dodson decided to burn the evidence of the locusts, and the containment chamber they were in is not very good. And all the locusts get out, and there's burning locusts everywhere, catching things on fire. And so it shows Malcolm on the phone. He goes, I can't get a hold of anybody due to everything being on fire. Just the way he says it. Malcolm has the best lines in this movie.
Absolutely.
Well, we'd love to know what you think about Jurassic World Dominion. You can always let us know at cinemaheroes.com. Do you love this movie? Are we way off base? Is this the best movie of the franchise? Honestly, if you think that, I don't know. You should have your head examined. I mean, it's your opinion. You're entitled to your opinion, but your opinion's wrong. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, you can also tweet at us or comment on our Instagram. Both handles are at Cinema Heroes. And if you're watching this on YouTube, of course, give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below what you like or dislike about Jurassic World Dominion. We'd love to hear from you. Any way you want to reach out to us. But I think that about wraps it up for this episode. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm Jay Stu.
As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing.